Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us here today at Indigo Moon. Has there ever been a subject matter that you're discussing with your friends and you feel like, wow, this subject continues to come up? Why don't we present it on the platform? Well, that's this topic. I feel like when you're getting into a relationship, when you're getting to know the person, one of the main features in getting to know the person is to know what it is that you can do for them or how it can be reciprocated back to you. When you're in a relationship, you're starting off, you're getting to interact with the person, you're getting to see who this person is. One of the biggest importance of getting to know the person is getting to see how you might be able to connect. Let me clarify that a bit. Sometimes, let's say the person has a problem. Let's say they have a death in the family or otherwise. You don't really know how to interact or how to make them feel better, or you might be coming from a place of understanding them, but you don't always know how to connect with them. Sometimes you say the wrong things, sometimes you say just the right thing, but the whole point in getting to know each other is so that you're able to do that. When you get to know a person better, now you know what it is that you can say to calm them and to soothe them when they're having a problem. When you're getting to know a person, you know certain issues or certain things that you might not want to talk about during that time. And sometimes as a relationship grows, you're getting to interact with this person and you're also getting to see, well, this subject matter would be better after we've eaten something. Because you also know, hanging out with a person for a period of time, when they're hungry and they haven't eaten properly and they get an attitude, that's not the right time to go into a discussion. The importance of getting to know a person better is so that you get to see how well things are balancing or if things are unbalanced. These are certain things that we're not necessarily taught. I know I wasn't taught relationship things by my parents, but I was shown different things. Like I recall talking to my father and asking him very nicely that if we are to meet up, please be on time when we are to meet. Because every time you have me waiting for a longer period of time, as in an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, it makes me feel like you don't respect my time. And if you don't respect my time, what message are you sending me? Because if your parents show you this, when you go into a relationship, some of these things might either be taken for granted or you might see yourself in a low vibration. Meaning, in this low vibration, you're upset with the person, now you're arguing with them, and you're upset because you feel that this person is mistreating you. But where did it start? It started in your childhood with your parents. So our parents are there to also teach us lessons, and we are in there to learn from us. It doesn't matter what age you are. You're never too old to learn from another person. But how you react, how you interact, that's a whole nother situation. We are all here on this lifetime platform in this world to learn from each other, to interact with each other, and to grow. And growing can happen in any situation, right? I remember having a crush on a guy in high school. And he was a part of this group. They wore, they dressed a certain way and they carried themselves a certain way. And I mean, his conversation was just really very mature, and I really liked him. But one day, we were talking, and he totally turned his conversation to me. And the way that he was reflecting, the way he was talking to me, I couldn't believe it was the same person. I mean, I lost so much respect for this person in this one conversation. And I know he probably had no idea. He just thought he was joking around or he was just, but the way in which his words changed, it was almost like he was trying to make another person feel low and to heighten himself. Now, getting to know him throughout the years, I no longer had a crush on him. Now, I just really wanted to have a respectful relationship. And after that conversation, I had to pull back. And when I pulled back, I decided that I was not going to communicate any further, But there came a time when we had to cross paths again. And did I want to be angry or what have you? I'm sure that he learned karmically his lesson behind that conversation. But I felt like I should have maybe corrected him during that time. When I tried to say certain things to him, though, you know how you test the situation before you carry it out? It seemed like the relationship, or should I say our friendship changed into, I should say our developing friendship turned into something where I felt his words became even worse. And that's when I chose to separate. But when I had to come back into his same path later on in years, it's like he didn't even remember the conversation taking place. And I had to pull back and just forgive him. We are all learning different lessons throughout our lifetime. We're all trying to grow, striving to be better people. So, in doing so, we are not going to do harm to another individual, but we will learn. And journaling comes into play at that point in time too, where you can journal and you can let your feelings be implemented in those words. And you can free yourself that way. My mother used to say, when you write certain things down, you know, I don't want you fighting with your siblings. Try to figure out another way to handle it. And I'm sure she said this to my brother a few times. But for some reason, when she was talking to my siblings, me listening in, I felt like I learned so much more, you know. And I'm sure later on he probably did just that. But I felt like at least I was able to pull something from that. Sometimes when you are in the company of others, you can't so much as think that the conversation or the lessons are only supposed to be validated in that person. Because we're all learning and growing, we need to be open to the conversations that are happening in our surroundings. You know, sometimes when you are faced with different situations, faced with certain decisions that you have to make, you go to God and you pray on it and you say, you know, God, how am I going to carry this out? I need your help. And you can go to sleep on it. The answers will be provided, you know. There was a teacher teaching in the inner city, and she was teaching on a specific day, and she had so much on her plate. She had graduation practice was coming up. The last teachers conference was here. And she also had to, she was also facing the murder of her mother. The murder of the mother was taking place, and she had a sibling who was basically handling most of it in the courtroom. Her job was to help with the brothers. Now, with all this on her plate, her brother reminded her, look, I need to meet up with you because I need to pick something up from you later, you know, blah, blah, blah. And they go ahead and, you know, they're supposed to meet up that day. Now, she never liked having her siblings or anyone from home meeting her in her work environment, specifically because anything can happen. And being in such a situation, you never want to have work and your personal life have any clashings, because it's a personal situation that occurs, and it can work against you at times. People have been fired for less, right? So on this particular day, she forgot she had to meet with one of the administrators because there was a gentleman or a man in the school building who had mistreated her in a very offensive way. And he said, look, no matter what the situation is, it's your word against his. The only way that you're going to be able to handle this is you're going to have a witness, you're going to have something happen. I don't know. Either way, you're telling me what he did, but he's saying that did not take place. So both of you, somebody's going to have a witness. This can get ugly. So you need to figure out what you're going to do. I'll meet with you next week on this topic. Fine. So she had all these different things. And on top of that, she had to practice because she was supposed to be singing in her cousin's wedding. Now she wanted to be the performer. She wanted to sing in her cousin's wedding. She felt that this would be one gift that she could give her cousins because she really loved them, and this is how she was going to show this affection in this affectionate way. So all these different things on her plate. It was just the craziest day. So first things first, she starts the day off with the students. And one of the students asks her about the student that she grew up with, that she shared the story about, Mimi. And she says, the important thing is that you learn from these people. The stories are being told to you so that you learn from each individual. And the kids got it or whatever, but one of the students kept thinking it must have been her. So he kept on trying to bring the subject back up. So she said, you know what? If you need to talk to me further about this, we need to meet at another time. I cannot take any class time away from this. The topics at hand are meant to happen. We need to get this done because you guys, the period is about to end. You got to go to your next class. So the day is going along, and later on they have to meet for graduation practice. During graduation practice, students are seated at the table, at the cafeteria table. She's speaking with a few colleagues, and the guy who she's having the problem with literally puts his hand on her posterior. How inappropriate. In the cafeteria in front of all these people. But she refused to move. She refused to move because this was the time that she would actually have a witness, someone to see it, so that this situation could be taken care of. So there were a few teachers who were there. Her cousin looked down and couldn't believe it and moved his hand. Only problem with this is her brother was supposed to be there. She could visually see her brother in her peripheral vision. This is not going to go well. And she was trying to figure out the nicest way. So she said, you know what? Excuse me, guys. Leaves the cafeteria, goes to meet with her brother, and she gives her brother the envelope that they agreed that he needed the information, what happened. Gives it to him, and she escorts him out of the building, thinking that that was taken care of. Oh, wonderful, everything's taken care of. What she did not know is her brother re-entered the side door, and then he saw the same teacher who touched her inappropriately going outside for a cigarette break. So he goes back outside and he waits, meets that teacher, and handles the situation in the best way that he saw suitable. Somehow, she didn't know exactly what took place at the time because, of course, she's back in there. She's doing graduation practice. After that, she almost forgets she has a parent she needs to meet, and then she has parents-teachers conference that night. So the day goes pretty well, fine, you know. The good thing was that she prayed over the situation. Whenever you pray over the situation, God takes care of the situation, or he at least helps you so that you know how to implement it later. Either way, it's going to be taken care of. And you have to know that that's exactly what's going to happen. If you don't have faith, sometimes that can be a bigger issue. The great thing is that she had faith in the situation, and it played out the way it was supposed to play out. So she meets one of the parents. And this was a parent of her 2 twin boys. She couldn't believe she was actually meeting this woman because she'd never met her before, and she was here, and she was so happy to meet with her. She gave the mother a warm hug, and they sat down to speak. The mother began crying, and she said, oh my goodness. She goes and gets tissues, gives the mother the tissues, embraces the mother, and asks her to please clarify why she's so upset. The mother says, I love my 2 boys. They are my boys, and they always talk to me whenever they have a problem. Now, since they have you, they only go to you. They don't need me anymore. And she says, oh no, your boys will always need you. And not only is this our last year together, your boys are getting ready to graduate. They are all yours after this is over. She says, but still they don't believe that what I say is important anymore. They go to you, and they're talking about they want your information to continue to always come to you. So she holds the mother's hands down in hers, and she says, look, I promise you from this day forward, your boys are always going to be yours, and I will make sure that I have a talk with them to make sure, oh no, don't tell them don't get them, I don't want them to be upset with me. Now, she says, no, they will not be upset with you. But I will definitely speak to them because I want them to know the importance of having a mom. I miss my mom. and my mom is no longer here. So I totally understand what it means to not have a mother. And I need you to understand that your boys do believe in you and they love you just the same, okay? I promise you, moving forward, that this will not be a problem. So she wipes her tears, they embrace, and the mother goes back home. The next day, she meets with the two boys, and she tells them, look, your mother is so beautiful, and it was such an honor meeting her yesterday. And I really do believe that you guys should spend more time with her. You know, just as you need her, she needs you too. And the boys took it very well, and was not a problem. But the same boy came back to talk about Mimi in that specific time. And I said, let me tell you something. Because he asked me. He asked the woman, excuse me. He asked the woman, are you Mimi? And she said, yes. Mimi and I are one and the same. We both connect on so many levels because we both shared some of these very experiences. So the two boys left. Graduation came later, and the year ended. The point is that sometimes you don't know what another person is going through. And when a person comes and they speak to you about their problem, it's always good to be able to have that time available to speak. If not, if you don't feel that you're going to have that time and that availability to sit down and speak with them, it's always better to make an appointment or to tell them, look, this is a great appointed time that I have available, maybe tomorrow or another time. And then you can actually be in a clear space where you can actually have that talk. Now, when my mother was murdered, I'm going to tell you, I didn't even tell the principal. I told no one in my school. I never even told my cousins. I never told anybody what I was going through because I was trying to handle it the best way that I could, but my students helped me get through that. They are always so busy, always having so much to do, and just taking care of them alone filled my day. Now, I'm not going to say that my time management was great because there were other things that I needed to take care of, and sometimes I was unable to meet certain demands in my own personal life. But sometimes when you're going through certain things, you never know what's going to help you get through it. Taking care of and supporting my students helped me get through that. And also, I had my brothers. The agreement was my sister was going to take care of her part and I was going to take care of my part. It was only the four of us who were able to get through this. My other siblings were younger, and I don't even know if they knew how to be supportive in this case. But I was there to support my brothers. My brothers were there to support me. My sister was there to support us, and we were there to support her in the best way we knew how. There's no way. I don't even know how I got through it outside of the way that everything happened. My students being, just being who they were. I don't even know how I got through it outside of saying, but God. God helped me get through it. Because losing a mother, that's the biggest adulthood, the biggest adult punch you could ever get. If you don't wake up, if you're not an adult, if you don't see your obligations, if you don't see that it's maturity time, that is when it is. Because nobody can prepare you for that. When I moved to Florida and my aunt became more of a mother figure, so to speak, I thought that was good, but I did not like the point of denouncing my mother. Sometimes people feel like they want to have a certain position, but when you have to meet everyone with lies consistently, that's more hurtful. It's almost like me saying that was not my mother. I had this talk with her, but then it made me think about my childhood. My mother made a promise to my aunt that they would share me when I was little. That when she was with her, that was one thing. When I was with my aunt, that was another thing. The only problem is it's confusing and it's conflicting to a child. When children are told different things, so to speak, it can be kind of complex. Meaning, When I was at my aunt's house and I spend nights or what have you, she demanded that I call her mother. And that's how the whole thing started. And I remember, there being some abuse involved there when I did not. You have to be very careful with children. Now, I'm happy with each experience because it taught me a great deal. But sometimes you're teaching children how to lie when you abuse them because they're not following through in what it is that you want them to do or say. And it's not fair to the child, and it's not fair to you as an adult if you are the person, imparting such an experience. One of the reasons why I'm even on this platform is to teach, to show that in life we're all going to go through certain experiences, but in order for us to get through and move forward, we have to heal through these experiences. Now, we're all healing in our own time, in our own space. As an adult, I know that this counselor was once saying, if you don't like what happened in your childhood, you can redo it, replan it, write it out. But sometimes you're erasing certain things. Now, I can forgive everyone in my life that has wronged me because I would like to be forgiven as well, right? But there is a certain time and frame that this happens. We can forgive other people, but it is a process in which it happens. Now, I forgive others, but as I move forward, some of these lessons can be a blessing to others while they're learning through me. Sometimes living vicariously through another individual, you get to learn, you get to grow through that experience. So I know this has been a long meeting that we sat here through today, but I hope that you were able to learn and grow through my experiences, okay? Please have a wonderful and enjoyable day, and thank you for joining us today. Bye.